Welcome back to Sip and Talk, everyone. So glad you're joining us today.
It really is great to have you with us.
Today, we're looking into a situation that's really quite fascinating, but also, well, frankly, a bit disturbing.
It is. It's a story that really makes you stop and think, about how different places, different societies respond to a crisis.
And what it actually means to be, well, truly free.
Exactly. We're talking about something specific that happened on a train over in Zhejiang, China.
Yeah, picture this. Passengers basically suffocating, sweltering heat after a collision, and then this dramatic moment when one young person just decides to act.
It sounds like something out of a movie, honestly, but it actually happened.
It did. And the ripples from it, well, they're pretty significant.
Right, because it's not really just about a train, is it? It's like a little window, a snapshot into these deeper societal patterns.
Yeah, and it lets us compare how different countries handle emergencies and what that tells us about, like, the collective mindset.
The psychology of it all.
Our mission today here on Sip and Talk is to really pull out the key insights from this event and some related observations we've seen.
And we want to be super clear up front. We're not here to point fingers or criticize any specific country or group of people. Not at all.
No, definitely not. Our goal is just to lay out the objective facts as we understand them, offer some analysis, and really just encourage you, our listener, to think for yourself.
Engage that independent thinking. So let's get into it.
Okay, so let's start by painting a clearer picture of this scene. We're calling this first part the window smashing incident.
Yeah.
A microcosm of authoritarian systems.
And it really is a microcosm, yeah. So imagine the date is July 2nd, 2025. Location: Zhejiang, China.
Okay.
There's this train, K1373, moving along, and then bam, it collides with a freight truck.
Ooh, a collision.
Yeah, side collision. Bad enough to derail the train, bring it to this grinding halt.
And it's not just a quick stop, right?
No, not at all. It's stuck for nearly 3 hours, just sitting there. Motionless.
3 hours. And, okay, July heat, train stops. What happens?
The air conditioning dies, of course. And the temperature inside those train cars, it just skyrockets. We're talking 33 to 38 degrees Celsius.
Which is, for us Fahrenheit folks.
That's like 91 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Sweltering.
Oh, my goodness. Inside a packed train car.
Exactly. It's not just hot. It's like being trapped in a metal box, an oven. People started feeling stifled, like they couldn't get enough oxygen.
I can just imagine. Dizzy, lightheaded.
Yeah, some were getting dizzy. Think about being stuck in a boiling car on a summer day, but like for 3 hours straight.
And crammed in with hundreds of other people.
Yeah.
No fresh air.
The air must have been so thick, heavy. Every breath probably felt like work. People were desperate.
Desperate. And it went beyond just discomfort, right? People were genuinely getting scared.
Oh, absolutely. It escalated quickly. We've seen reports, actual quotes from passengers wondering aloud if they were about to, quote, sacrifice their lives for communism in that heat.
That says a lot about the desperation level. Dark humor, maybe, but wow.
Right. They were begging, pleading for someone, anyone, to just open a door or smash a window. Anything for air.
The urgency must have been palpable.
Yeah.
Just screaming for help, basically.
But here's the kicker. Here's where it gets really eye-opening.
All right.
Despite everything, the heat, the panic, the pleas, the train staff, even the lead official, who was reportedly sweating buckets, like visibly soaked through his clothes, they refused.
Refused to open doors or windows.
Absolutely refused. Why? Because they didn't have direct, explicit permission from a superior.
Even the guy sweating through his shirt, suffering just like everyone else.
He was paralyzed by the rules, by the protocol.
That just screams bureaucratic nightmare, that fear of getting in trouble.
It's a classic dilemma, isn't it? But taken to an extreme, this intense, paralyzing fear of accountability.
So the main concern wasn't, people literally gasping for air.
It seems not. It seems the top priority was protecting their jobs, avoiding blame, sticking to the procedure no matter the human cost.
That's chilling.
It's a systemic issue, right? It's not just one person being afraid. It's how the system itself seems to function, where personal job security somehow outweighs urgent human need.
Yeah, that whole mentality of better wait for orders even if people suffer than risk my neck by acting.
Exactly. And you see that in rigid, highly centralized systems. The individual feels powerless or maybe just terrified to deviate.
Even when the solution seems obvious, like, couldn't they have just opened a door and put staff there to stop people jumping?
You'd think so. That's standard practice in many emergency situations elsewhere. It's not complex.
Right. Basic safety.
The fact that they wouldn't or felt they couldn't, it points to this deep-seated institutional paralysis. Like the system itself prevents common sense action.
It discourages initiative? Punishes it, maybe?
Seems like it. So, okay, no help from the staff. They're waiting for orders from God knows where. What happens next?
Someone takes matters into their own hands. A young passenger. Shows incredible bravery, frankly.
Yeah.
Takes out one of those emergency safety hammers and smashes a window.
Finally. Fresh air.
Exactly. A gasp of relief probably swept through that car. You'd think, okay, this person's a hero.
Yeah.
Saved the day.
You would absolutely think that. A lifesaver. Acted when the authorities wouldn't.
Well, prepare yourself.
No.
The police eventually show up, and their first reaction...
Let me guess. Not good.
They try to block the broken window.
You're kidding me. Block the fresh air.
Initially, yes. The very thing people desperately needed. It's almost comical if it weren't so serious.
That is absurd.
Now, to be fair, they apparently realized pretty quickly how hot it was.
Felt the heat themselves, maybe.
Maybe. And they ended up sitting near the window clearing glass. So they benefited from the action they first tried to stop.
Okay, well, small mercies. But what about the official reaction later? The media.
Oh, that's where it gets really wild. The official media response actually criticized the young man.
Criticized him for smashing the window?
Yep. Called his actions not heroic. Said it was an emotional derailment.
Emotional derailment? What does that even mean?
And get this. A double erosion of public, physical, and spiritual order.
Wow. That's quite the phrase. Spiritual order. From smashing a window to breathe.
They basically said true self-rescue means trusting the professional emergency response, not, quote, fighting violence with violence.
Smashing a window is violent compared to suffocating.
It's like they're saying it's better to just, die politely, following the rules, than to live by breaking one.
That framing, double erosion of public, physical, and spiritual order, that tells you so much about their priorities, doesn't it?
It really does. It suggests that individual initiative, even for survival, is seen as a threat to the system's control.
It's not just property damage, it's a disruption of obedience, a dangerous ripple.
So this whole incident, it just throws this massive spotlight on the deeper issues, right? Bureaucratic rigidity.
Absolutely. A culture of responsibility avoidance.
Fear. And this constant tension you see in China between, breakneck development speed and actual safety.
High-speed trains, low-speed decision-making in a crisis.
And it's not the first time, is it? You mentioned the Wenzhou collision.
Exactly. Back in 2011, that was blamed on design flaws, negligence, but the response. Criticized for being slow, for trying to control information, even burying wreckage.
So this recent incident shows a disturbing continuity. It's not isolated. It's a pattern.
A systemic echo. And it speaks volumes about how local officials, like the train crew, often feel they have zero real power.
They're just cogs, waiting for the signal from way up high.
Right. From a distant, maybe faceless authority. Initiative is just conditioned out of them.
And the government's focus always seems to circle back to order, control, image.
Prioritized over individual safety, over immediate human needs. That's the trade-off you see highlighted so starkly here.
It's a tough picture.
It really is. Okay, so let's zoom out from the train itself. What does this tell us about this broader idea we've been talking about, the cocoon society?
Right, because it's not just about being physically trapped, like on a train or in a lockdown. It's a state of mind, isn't it?
Exactly. A mental state. Think about a cocoon. Yeah, it feels closed off, maybe protected, maybe even safe in a way.
But the price you pay for that feeling of safety
is losing your ability to act, to think critically, to be proactive. You just exist, waiting.
Key features of this mindset. Self-censorship is a big one, right? People afraid to speak up, not because someone's pointing a gun, but because they've learned it's risky.
Yeah, they internalize the fear, and there's this false sense of security. If I just keep my head down, follow the rules, don't make trouble, I'll be okay.
Even if the rules are actually harmful.
Right. And this habit of just endurance, stoicism almost. When disaster strikes, it's not a wake-up call for change.
It's just bad luck, something to be put up with.
And the most chilling part, maybe, is what happens to the ones who do break out, who show courage.
They get isolated, punished even. Not celebrated.
They become warnings, not examples.
So back to the train. The guy smashes the window, saves lives, and he's taken away for investigation.
And online you hear people muttering, too impulsive, don't cause trouble.
Classic cocoon logic in action.
It really is. And it's eerily similar to what people said after that terrible Urumqi fire in 2022, the one that sparked the white paper protests.
Oh, yeah. What was that quote?
If not for this fire, we might have continued to keep silent. That captures it perfectly. waking up only after extreme trauma.
So why? Why do people retreat into this mental cocoon?
It's complicated. Partly it's maybe a kind of selective amnesia after trauma. It's easier to just forget how scary it was, push it down.
This was the fear.
And then there's the lack of any real outlet for dissent, right? If you can't speak up safely, if there's no channel for complaint or change.
Then silence becomes your only strategy. You just hunker down.
And that justification we hear, I just want to live my own life. Sounds reasonable, right? Minding your own business.
But it can become an excuse for inaction, for not engaging when you see injustice.
It feels neutral, but it often ends up being a quiet nod to the status quo, a surrender.
And that really disturbing thought, as long as it's not me buying.
Yeah, that's maybe the darkest corner of the cocoon. We're all in the same boat, literally on the same train, suffocating together.
But as soon as the immediate danger passes for me, I disconnect. Phew, glad that wasn't me. Hope it's not me next time.
It's a warped kind of individualism.
And it leads to this completely messed up system, what we call the reverse honor system.
Right, where the people who actually show courage, who act decisively, who help others, they're not the heroes.
No medals for them. They get labeled troublemakers, orderly, like the window smasher.
Meanwhile, the ones who just wait, suffer silently, obey.
They get praised, rational, cooperative, admirable even.
It's a total flip of basic values. Courage is punished, passivity is rewarded.
The braver you are, the more the system pushes you out. The quieter you are, the safer you seem.
It's a powerful incentive to just do nothing, conform, even when things are dire.
You know, it's funny, but we probably all recognize versions of that. As long as it's not me thinking in everyday life, right? Even small things.
Oh, totally. Like, imagine you're in a building and you smell smoke, and someone goes, hey, the smoke hasn't reached my nose yet. Let's just wait and see.
Huh. It's absurd, but you can almost picture it, rationalizing an action right up until the last second.
Or watching flood news, and someone says, well, the water's only knee-deep over there. Not really dangerous till it's waist-high. Good exercise, probably.
Kicking around. Just bizarre optimism in the face of disaster.
Or, more seriously, seeing obvious injustice, something clearly wrong happening to someone else, and thinking,
well, it's not affecting me directly, so why stick my neck out? Not my problem.
It's relatable in a dark way, these mental tricks we play, but it's also a huge warning sign, isn't it? How easily we can tune out other suffering.
The bottom line, though, is when you're the one suffocating on that train.
Yeah, you definitely don't want people looking at you gasping for air and saying, calm down, don't be so emotional, just wait for instructions.
Absolutely not. That's the real test.
So this train incident, it forces this fundamental question, doesn't it? Disaster strikes. Do you wait or do you act?
Is self-rescue a basic human right? Or, like that official media said, is it a crime, an emotional derailment?
We've seen how the Chinese system seems to lean heavily towards order, control, protocol, often over immediate safety.
So how does that compare? How do other societies, particularly democratic ones, handle these critical moments?
It's a vital comparison. Let's look at a few key aspects. First, citizen self-rescue space.
Okay. In China, as we saw, self-rescue seems viewed as disruptive. A problem.
Right. But contrast that with, say, Taiwan or Germany. There, it's actively encouraged. Citizens are seen as part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Empowering people.
Exactly. In Japan, it's also common, but often emphasizes cooperation within existing community structures. Still active, but maybe more organized.
Okay, next dimension. System flexibility and on-site judgment.
China, as the train incident showed, looks incredibly rigid. Officials seem terrified to deviate. Bureaucratic paralysis.
Waiting for that permission slip.
Yeah. Taiwan shows more flexibility. Disaster laws allow for on-site discretion. Local leaders can make calls. Japan's quite strong here, too. Local officials have significant power to adapt quickly. They trust the people on the ground.
And Germany, you said, is top tier.
Off the charts, really. They have this legal emergency immunity clause. It explicitly gives on-site personnel huge discretion.
Meaning they can act without fear of being blamed later.
Precisely. It emphasizes local priority of command. The person on the scene calls the shots, basically, and the law backs them up if they acted reasonably to save lives. That's huge.
Wow, that's a fundamental difference. Okay, what about the media's role?
In China, state media mainly relays the official line, maintains stability, controls the narrative.
Manage the message.
Pretty much. In Taiwan, the media is often critical, acts as a watchdog, and even educates the public on disaster response. Provides practical tips.
Japan's media?
Investigates, but also heavily promotes disaster prevention awareness, partners in safety.
And Germany's media?
Fiercely independent. often exposes system failures, holds power accountable, a real check and balance.
Okay, last comparison point. Public trust in government.
In China, trust often feels more formal, mandated from the top down, expected.
Whereas in democracies like Taiwan, Japan, Germany,
there's generally a foundation of trust, but it's coupled with public oversight. People expect transparency, accountability, and there's often a strong sense of civic duty to participate and help out.
Let's look at some real-world examples. These case studies really bring it to life. Taiwan. Resilience in action.
Yeah, after that massive 9/21 earthquake in 1999, Taiwan saw incredible coordination between the military and civilian rescue groups.
And the government didn't shut down the civilian efforts.
No, they actively encouraged them. Broadcast messages telling neighborhoods to help each other out. It was unified.
And their laws helped too, right? Local leaders could act fast.
Exactly. The Disaster Prevention Act let local leaders deploy resources without waiting for central approval. We saw it again in 2014 with the Kaohsiung gas explosion.
Local teams just went into action immediately.
Instantly. Police, fire, medical, no waiting for orders from the capital. And the media focused on safety tips, transparency, not blame.
Okay, now Japan. Preparedness and community spirit.
Oh, Japan's response to the 2011 Great East Japan earthquake was remarkable. Disaster awareness is just baked into their culture.
Constant drills, right? In schools, communities.
It makes self-rescue almost second nature. It's not just a plan on paper, it's practiced.
So even when the government info was slow initially,
local self-rescue systems just kicked in. People guided each other to shelters, set up aid stations spontaneously. Local governments work year-round with community self-help organizations, stocking supplies, planning routes. It's deeply ingrained.
Amazing. And Germany. Law-backed self-preservation.
The 2021 Ahrweiler floods. Hundreds escaped quickly using community alerts, social media.
Even though the official warnings were criticized.
Yes, but crucially, the government never suppressed self-rescue efforts. The priority was saving lives, period.
And that law you mentioned, the Citizen Protection Act.
It gives citizens legal overreach for reasonable self-protection. Meaning, if you act decisively in a disaster to save yourself or others, the law protects you. It empowers people directly.
So boiling it all down, the key difference isn't about whether a system is perfect.
No system is perfect. Every country has flaws, makes mistakes in crises.
The real difference is whether the system fundamentally allows and empowers people to make their own decisions when seconds count.
Exactly. In a rigid system, when things are unclear, the default is often do nothing, wait. In a more flexible, democratic one, it's more like whoever's there acts. Life is the priority.
So smash a window in China, you might get investigated. Smash one in Germany, you might get praised or at least legally protected.
Media in one focuses on order. Media in the other focuses on information and prevention.
Accountability afterward.
Yeah.
In one case, it's who broke the rules.
In the other, it's why did the system fail us? Why weren't we warned or helped faster? The questions themselves reveal the values.
So based on all this, what are the big recommendations? For any country, really?
Well, first, universal emergency immunity clauses, like Germany's. Let the people on the ground act decisively without fear. Train conductors, bus drivers, local officials. Empower them.
Takes away that paralysis.
Absolutely. Second, consistent, realistic disaster drills and public education, like Japan. Make self-rescue and mutual aid second nature.
Not just ticking boxes. Real practice.
Third, media needs to shift its role. Less about managing image, more about actively educating people on how to self-rescue, how to respond, be a public service.
Give people actionable information.
And finally, legal frameworks must explicitly empower those on the front lines, local authorities, yes, but also transport staff, anyone in a position to make immediate life-saving decisions. Give them the power and the protection.
That seems like a solid path forward.
Okay, so this is where it all kind of comes together, right? This train incident, it really forces us to confront what freedom actually is.
Yeah, it goes way beyond just slogans or political talk.
Totally. You know, lots of regimes will let you talk about freedom, post a meme, say some nice words, fine.
But actually practicing it, when it might disrupt their control, that's different.
That's the line. Think about it. Trying to get food during a crazy lockdown because you're starving, smashing a window to breathe, speaking up for someone being treated unjustly.
Suddenly, you're not exercising freedom, you're irrational, an instigator, a disruptor.
You become the problem, and that's when you realize freedom isn't just a word, it's a risk.
It's whether you're willing to take that breath, make that move, when everyone else is staying quiet.
That young person on the train probably wasn't thinking, I'm making a grand statement about liberty.
No. They just wanted to breathe, to survive.
But that is the essence of it, isn't it? That primal instinct to live. In that context, it becomes this powerful act of resistance against a system that values obedience over life.
Which brings us to that really haunting question. When people get used to a stuffy train car, will they remember what fresh air outside tastes like?
Ugh, yeah. That's the heart of the cocoon effect, isn't it? It's not just forgetting freedom, it's like actively unlearning it.
How does that happen? It's gradual.
Super gradual, insidious. First, you feel uneasy, but you're scared to stand out, so you keep quiet.
Then you start telling yourself, okay, it's not that bad. I can handle this. Oh, look, everyone else is handling it.
Rationalization kicks in. And eventually, the chilling part, you convince yourself this is normal. This is just how it is.
You adapt to the suffocation.
And over time, the collective memory just fades. People forget what hot feels like, let alone fresh air. They start saying things like,
we never had AC back in the day, and we survived.
Exactly. Or, that window smasher was too impulsive, not rational, caused trouble. They start echoing the official line.
Making it their own truth.
They might even say, look, freedom's great, but we need order. Can't have chaos.
Which sounds reasonable on the surface.
But they stop asking the crucial question, why are we enduring this in the first place? Why is the air so bad? They forget there was ever an alternative, that the window could be opened.
So this story, this train incident in China, it's not just about China, is it?
Not at all. It's a mirror held up to all of us. It asks every society, every person. When crisis hits, when the air gets thin, do you wait for orders or do you act?
And we can't get complacent in democratic societies thinking, oh, that could never happen here.
Absolutely not. Because authoritarianism isn't always just imposed by force. Sometimes it creeps in through habit, through obedience, through social pressure to conform.
That's how the cocoon forms anywhere, quietly.
So some thoughts for different places. For Taiwan, vibrant democracy, yes, but remember, freedom needs constant upkeep. Like a garden.
You can't just assume it'll always be there.
Right. If the default reaction in a crisis becomes just wait for the government, how different is that really from passive waiting elsewhere? Passive endurance shouldn't be the goal.
Taiwanese people are very cooperative, which is great.
It's a huge strength. But they also need to nurture that courage to question, to act independently when needed. Otherwise, you don't lose freedom by force. You just forget how to use it.
Like a muscle you stop exercising.
Yeah.
Civic courage needs to be an everyday thing, not just on voting day.
And for the U.S., American freedom is strong on individual rights, but sometimes it forgets collective responsibility, maybe.
That I got mine or the government will handle it tendency.
Yeah. This incident reminds us freedom isn't just rights, it's also obligation to protect ourselves and others, to act when the system fails.
And people who do act bravely, whistleblowers or whoever, they shouldn't be isolated or punished here either.
Absolutely not. We celebrate heroes, but sometimes suppress the inconvenient truth tellers. That's not healthy for democracy.
What about Europe? Strong institutions, lots of rules.
Which are vital, but the risk is relying too much on them, forgetting basic human instinct and judgment on the ground.
Laws shouldn't stifle common sense life-saving actions.
Exactly. Institutions are there to make sure windows can be opened, not to block them.
And disaster drills everywhere need to be more than just paperwork, right?
So much more. They need to be practical, build real skills, incorporate intuitive responses, escaping, breaking things if needed, working together spontaneously. Empower people, don't just manage them.
At the end of the day, the most terrifying thing isn't necessarily a closed system imposed from outside.
It's when people willingly close themselves off. Choose to stay silent. Stay in the dark.
The coldest part isn't the train car without AC.
It's when everyone inside thinks, as long as it's not me dying. That's the real chilling point. When empathy dies.
We have to remember who smashed that window. Remember that act of defiance that let the air in.
Remember what it felt like to breathe again. And remember how close we came to suffocating while waiting obediently. That memory is vital.
Because freedom ultimately isn't some gift handed down.
No. It's that breath of fresh air, often earned only by taking a risk, by acting.
And we all need to internalize that, all of us. That even if no one else leads, even if everyone else is looking down,
we have to find the courage, the conviction, the sheer will to smash that window ourselves if we have to.
Wow. Powerful stuff to think about.
It really is. So that kind of wraps up our discussion for today. What a journey, thinking about the cost of obedience and the real price of freedom.
Definitely leaves you thinking. And just a reminder, as always here on Sip and Talk, we're not about criticizing specific countries or people.
No, our aim is just to offer objective insights, get you thinking, encourage that independent thought, question things.
We really hope this conversation gives you something to chew on, maybe changes how you see certain things.
And hey, before you go, please hit that subscribe button for Sip and Talk wherever you get your audio. We love having you here.
Oh, and also, you absolutely have to check out our good friend Mickey's YouTube channel. It's called Mickytolife.
Yes, do it.
He's got hilarious memes, great music, wine tasting, awesome travel vlogs. Seriously entertaining stuff.
And his brand new Korea travel food vlog just went live. You gotta see it.
Seriously, go check it out now. Mickytolife on YouTube. You won't regret it.
Definitely not. Okay, thanks again for sipping and talking with us today.
See you next time.